What is this foolishness?
How many dreams can you shape in a minute, an hour?
The kind of clean you like best.
Lost 3 of my teeth, too. All right, so you lost. Next time you'll win.
Steamy, hot, hearty, delicious, invigorating.
Folks at home, how you doing tonight? Mike Iaconelli, welcome to Ike Live, another episode of this amazing web show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. It's a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Let me start by saying I think this is webisode number 3069. I don't know, we're a lot of shows in, and you hear me say this a lot, but I'm serious tonight. I promise you, I'm dead honest when I tell you the show we have for you tonight is stellar. It's spectacular. It's amazing. The dichotomy of guests we have tonight, kind of polar opposites, really a great thing. And I'm super excited. You know, 2 of my heroes on the show tonight. Let me start with one of them, Mr. Jerry McKinnis, owner of BASS and world famous angler, a hero of mine from when I was a kid, and you know him from the fishing hole, is going to be joining us tonight. Man, this is big for me. I'm super excited. We're going to have Jerry via Skype. We're going to be talking to him about his new book. It's a really great book. It's a great read. It's called Bass Fishing, Brown Dogs, and Curveballs. Super book. So we're going to have him on, and then a little later, and he's in studio tonight, another one of my heroes, Mr. Mark Jeffries from Bass Zone, Bass Talk Live, is here in the studio. It's great because when one of your heroes is on the studio and you disagree with them, you can actually get into a fist fight with the guy, which is cool. You can't do that virtually via Skype. But it's going to be a great show, going to be a super show. Let's start as we always do, and I want to send a big, huge thank you to all the military, active and veterans, men and women. Thank you guys for what you do. Crazy freaking world. Thank you for protecting our freedoms. Also, shout out to the police department, the fire department, the EMT. You guys rock. As Dave Brodzik would say, you guys are rad. Let me start and announce the room. And sitting to my right, I don't think I could do this show as effectively if it wasn't for this very handsome man with old school facial hair. Pete Klusik, everybody.
Thank you.
Pete?
Thank you.
Pete?
The facial, the mustache is well received. So.
It's amazing. Now I got to know, what would you call that mustache? What would you call the shape or the form of that mustache?
The 70s man.
70s, Fu Manchu, handlebars. What would you call it?
Ron Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy.
Yeah.
Well received where? Like at the rest stops on the New Jersey Turnpike?
People keep telling me to keep it, man. People keep telling me. The women of the 70s are paying attention to me.
The women of the 70s. The women of the 70s.
So 60-year-olds think you're hot, and guys at the pickle park like the mustache.
I think guys like it because they can't grow one like it.
No, it's impressive.
It is. And it is, we are here in the start of No Shave November. That's right. So we like it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you, in honor of your mustache, not necessarily you, but in honor of your mustache tonight, Pete, and Brian, I don't know if I can get a close-up on this or not. Tonight's beer of choice is we're going back to the 70s, and we're going with Pabst Blue Ribbon tonight. Nice. So let me open this. This is the first pour of the night. This is to your mustache, Pete.
Well, mustache really appreciates it. I do want to mention something real quick.
The mustache.
With respect to EMS, to the EMS folks, you know what? I did something really cool. My family did that was amazing. Many of you know that my father suffered a heart attack, and the EMS group for Mount Laurel came to his rescue at lightning
Amazing
speed.
Scenario. Yeah.
And we've been trying to do this for a while, but we were finally able to do it. As we took a trip down and visited the EMS leader that actually handled the whole emergency for Pop, and it was amazing.
Wow.
To have Dad, who was lifeless when this man got to him, and have him walk through that EMS door and greet each other.
Had to be emotional.
Well, my dad was, emotional, but I was amazed at how emotional the team leader was, and I won't mention his name because I don't know if he would want me to.
Yeah, sure.
But he hugged my dad straight as soon as he saw him. He recognized him and and gave him a big bear hug. And Mom baked him some homemade sugar cookies and chocolate chip cookies for the EMS house. And
nice.
And a donation was made to the EMS of Mount Laurel, and I'd like to invite anybody that is so inclined to donate to this great group. And you can look them up at Mount Laurel. Just Google search them, Mount Laurel, New Jersey EMS. And it was an awesome experience. Thanks again, guys, for all you do.
It's a great story, great story. Let's continue with the room. And on the casting couch tonight, one of our amazing guests, you heard me talk about him earlier, we've got Mr. Mark Jeffries. Mark, how are you tonight?
Hi, you're calling me a hero?
Yeah, you're my hero. What can I tell you why? Because we're going to talk about this later as the show goes on, but since we're talking about it, you have pointed us as a group, this show, Ike Live, and this crazy cast of knuckleheads in this direction. It was really your brainchild from the beginning. I don't know how many of our viewers actually know that. So that brings you to hero status in my book.
It's all your fault, Mark.
Yeah, it's all your fault. We have this miserable show.
Then it's all on me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's hero status. That may be a total disaster.
Well, nevertheless, we're excited to have you here. And again, we're going to talk about this later, but real quick, Bri, correct me if I'm wrong. We have a new look all around.
Indeed we do.
From the amazing intro.
Yes.
And I just want to play that like 10 times.
I know.
We're going to have more intros tonight. I don't care.
Yeah.
From the amazing intro to shit working for a change.
I think.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Everything I think's working. Did we get any IMs yet about it not working? It looks like it's working.
We seem to be working.
Okay, shit's working.
Wow.
And I have to sprinkle a little bit of Rebecca into this, and we'll get to her. And we have an actual studio redo, a fresh studio, new
Looks
paint,
good, man. It's all good.
new junk, a new coffee table.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
Yep.
Hey.
Well, we're stoked to have you here, Mark. It's gonna be a fun night.
I'm glad to be here. Man.
Okay.
Very excited about our guest.
Awesome. Me too. And then sitting to Mark's left is our resident a-hole, and we love him.
Yes, we do.
Dave Brodzik, a.k.a. Worf, in the house tonight. I know.
Oh man.
Well, here's this is what I love. So we've got we got the hair, and I love the hair. It's Randy Hal-esque. It's not Randy Hal. It's Randy Hal-esque.
tighter.
But then the shirt, which goes into the low fro of the one, the only
Red Fox.
Red Fox.
I was going to say Fred Surfer.
What's the G stand?
Yeah. Now we were talking earlier, and help us out, everybody watching, if you can. We were debating whether Fred's in the show whether Fred's middle initial was G, and we're thinking it was. But if anybody knows that for a fact, please IM us. Let us know, because that's important, right?
And what was Lamont's buddy's name? Was it
Grady.
Was it Julio?
Grady. It was Grady.
Julio, you big dummy. Or was it Raul? You
Raul.
Big dummy?
I think it was
either
Raul.
or
No, it was
Julio.
Julio.
Was it
Was
Julio?
Julio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lamont, Grady, Elizabeth.
You fish out, fool.
You fish out fool.
Yeah.
Julio had the goats.
Yeah. What a great show. And you know what's funny?
What a great show.
Let
Officer
me tell
Washington. Washington was the cop with the afro.
Yeah.
And then he had like his incompetent sidekick, the white guy. I forget. I don't know. Was it Drummond from
Hoppy. It was Hoppy.
was it?
Everything was flipped in that
Washington
show.
was from the Welcome Back, Kotter.
I thought the cop. Whatever.
All right, let me
Sorry.
stop you guys for a second, and let me remind you our demographic, please, because 80% of our audience right now is saying, "What the f are these guys
I
talking
have no
about?"
idea.
They have no idea.
but this guy Dave says Julio and Rollo.
No.
Rollo.
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 Yeah,
Wow.
Rollo. Yes, I remember that.
All right.
Pete, is any of this
Schmitty and
coming back?
Hoppy were the cops.
That's right. Hoppy. I said Hoppy.
Yeah,
Very
good job,
good.
dude.
Hey, but these guys that have never seen can go see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, hey, in the magic of digital today, I'm sure you could YouTube it.
Carbon TV.
Nah,
Vimeo,
you're right
Carbon
there, dude.
TV.
Before I left the house, my oldest one, Jacqueline, was over with her boyfriend. And I unrolled the shirt all proud, like, yeah, look what I found. He's like, who's that? Like,
Who's that black guy on your shirt?
like, who's that? I'm like, you know who Red Fox is, man? Like, I'm like, you're right. You know, you probably weren't even born when he
Crazy,
died.
isn't it? It's amazing. It's amazing. We're dating ourselves.
Yeah.
Dave. I know we should do that. Let me continue with the intro. And in the booth, second to Mark, the most important man in the room, controls the show, make sure things go smoothly and correctly every night. Our very own Brian the Carpenter, a.k.a. Ding Dong, in the house.
Woohoo!
Hi,
Doing
Brian.
an excellent job.
Yes, thank you.
You know what's interesting, though? Because right now I'm looking at we have this new TV, by the way, and under you, it says Pete Glusick, and under Becky says Mike Iaconelli.
Well, Mark didn't leave us say, oh, we have to make a title that just says Ike Live, and we don't have it.
Oh, we don't have that yet.
No.
Okay. Because I like this look. I was going to say Pete really lost a lot of weight.
And got
This
better
weight
looking.
loss program have been working
And
here.
he's way better looking now.
Pete, you kind of look like Julia Roberts or Michael Jordan.
Thank you.
I don't know. Okay. And next to Pete Glusick, to Brian's left, we've got the beautiful, the wonderful, the lady that makes I Am Magic every night in your ear. Mike Iaconelli, Rebecca Iaconelli. How are you, Rebecca?
I'm good, thank you.
You look beautiful tonight.
Thank you.
What are you wearing? Who are you wearing? Who's the designer?
Ella Moss, thank you very much.
Ella Moss. Is that any relation to Kate Moss, the model?
Ella Moss, and I'd like to give a shout out to Nordstrom, and I know y'all are gonna laugh at me for this, but they have announced that they will not open on Thanksgiving like a lot of other stores, and I appreciate people who are deciding not to open on Thanksgiving so family can be family on holidays.
I agree with that.
I know there's there's a handful of
Shout
other
out
stores
to
doing
Nordstrom's. Shout out to Nordstrom's.
Right.
Now, this might be a bad time to announce this, but I know you've all heard the rumors about it. I'm pretty sure, everybody's pretty sure, about 99% sure, that Bass Pro Shops is going to buy Nordstrom's.
Yeah,
Pretty sure Bass Pro Shops is going to buy Nordstrom's.
I believe that's true.
I think that's true.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. All right. Let me remind you, great sponsors that create this show. You see a lot of stuff here, a lot of magic happening. It's not just human people. It's human people with amazing products that bring you the show. And a special shout out to Exmark. And as you know, Exmark makes the world's best lawnmowers. Oh my God, if you want your grass cut so beautifully that you could roll around on it naked with no clothes on and just it feels soft and comfortable. If you want it done quickly,
Oh my God.
then you got to get an Exmark. Listen to me. We have one. We have one. Back me up on this. It cuts, and we have a lot of property out here. We've got 10 acres. It cuts the lawn quick, and we roll around on it naked all the time, and it feels great.
What did we talk about?
It was a lot of sharing right there.
Okay, that's right. I had a note here not to talk about that. A shout out to Exmark, and another shout out to a great sponsor of Ike Live. You know, I know you've seen this product before. You've heard a lot of us have our experiences and talk about it. Liquid Mayhem, and depending on how you say it, it's Mayhem or Mayhem. But Liquid Mayhem is a scent. Thank you guys for supporting the show. But here's what I want to do right now. We have a real life experience. We've had some before. I want to turn it over to Brian the Carpenter. Tell us a little bit about it, because you told me off air about a fishing trip you had recently.
I did.
Tell me about
I
this.
fished down the campground last weekend. I only got out about a couple hours. It's typical when you don't go, down and haven't been somewhere for 3 months. Nothing works. Battery's dead. Trolling motor's broke. Golf cart's got a flat tire. So it was a
Stuff's broken. That's very
everything
typical.
was broken.
That's
yeah.
very typical.
But,
Did you beat it with a paddle?
No, but I persevered and I got on the water for about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
But fishing out that little green boat, that little 10-footer, you know what that's like, dude. That little 10-foot, that thing's horrible.
Yeah.
But
CC.
yeah, I was flipping a jig and first pitch and I got a bite. Of course, I'm way out of position. Wind's blowing. I'm reaching for the trolling motor and I feel, thump, hits it. So I'm all rusty. I reel down to him and boom, he pulls back.
Yeah.
And usually then it's done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When he feels you like it's done.
It's over, yeah.
So I'm like, oh, dude, I totally booted that. I'm out of position, whatever. Reel down again and I feel him just sitting there, chomp, 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 chomp. You can just feel
chewing
him
on it.
chewing on
Yeah.
the jig, just chewing on the thing. And I'm like, he's not still there. And I realized it had to be like 10 seconds worth of nonsense.
Wow.
And he's still there, like running around with it, and
Yeah.
But it's one of the moments where
it's a real life experience.
There's no other way you're catching that fish.
Right.
That fish, I booted that.
Yeah, what's interesting is especially on a jig, and I'll go back, Dave, and we'll flash back to the Alloway days. And I remember a lot of those bites you're talking about. And if you didn't get them right then, within a couple seconds, it's done. It's a 3/8, it's a half ounce, it's a 5/8 ounce jig.
That's a jig
You're
bite.
done. So that's interesting.
He
That's
held
interesting.
it. He held it.
That's great.
It's cold water, cold weather fishing.
Yeah.
That's liquid mayhem season. This is the time. Cold water is
Tough.
where you need it. The shad are grouped up. You need every edge you can get. I'm using it on all my trips down there on the Chesapeake. So
And
check it out, guys.
And they talk about putting it on hard baits too, moving baits, crankbaits, rattle traps.
Yeah.
And I started fooling around with that. I couldn't find a trap bite, but I will say that stuff stays on your bait.
Stays on really long.
It does.
It does.
It does. It's crazy.
It does. Long lasting.
So I'm looking forward to using it more and fooling around with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Give me some more recaps about what's been going on. I know a lot of you follow us on social media. You follow me and you follow the Ike Live show on all the social media accounts. A lot of really cool stuff going on in the last few weeks. SEMA just got done. And for you car fans, you motorheads out there, and we'll talk about Motorhead a little later, Mark Jeffries, it's a big show. It's a big show, Pete. SEMA is the ICAST of the auto industry. Mm-hmm. But let me put it in perspective on how big the show actually was. And this will give you an idea. So imagine ICAST. Imagine walking into ICAST, and that's a big show, and seeing about, how many, Beck? 8 or 10 ICAST all laid out in different buildings?
Wow.
I would put it more like 20, because
20.
once you take into account the outside,
Yeah.
it's 20 plus. I didn't even see a lot of the outside. It's insane.
Insane. Dude, amazing. So you've got car manufacturers. And by the way, we were there for Toyota. Awesome experience. Toyota brought us in. They did a couple reveals of some special SEMA builds. Really cool for Toyota to bring us there. But you've got automakers. You've got part manufacturers. You've got custom shops. You've got the entire industry. Anything involved in the auto business. Light bulbs, screws, the big machines that are at a garage that, look at your tire. I mean, all of it. They're all there displaying. But without a doubt, two things different at SEMA and two things that were amazing. The first thing is the cars. It's hard to put a number on it. And Mark, tell me if this sounds right. When we first started walking around, we're looking at all these custom builds. And this is old cars, this is new cars, Lamborghinis, everything in between. We're like, how many? It's got to be in the millions. We're like, that's got to be 10, 20 million worth of cars. And the more we walked around and the more we saw, we're putting this number at $1 billion worth of cars. Is that possible?
Wow.
Is that possible, Mark?
Oh, yeah.
You think it is?
Yeah.
It has
Absolutely
to be.
there.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
What stuck out?
I mean...
For you, what'd you like the best? Anything hot?
well, I got to tell you, Toyota did... I want to tell you a little couple of builds that Toyota did. Toyota did a Back to the Future SR5 Tacoma, which reminded me of my truck I had in high school.
Yeah, 'cause that's what he had. You're right.
Yeah. A very, very cool build. Toyota also did a Tundra, really built up like a Tonka truck. Totally lifted in black and yellow colors. Really cool. But my favorite Toyota build was a minivan. Now listen to this. Picture this. It was like a Sienna. Did I get the name right back? Like
I
a
think
Sienna?
so, yeah.
Run-of-the-mill minivan. And this thing was lifted up about 12 inches, huge tires, body armor, all across the thing, night vision system on it, a monitor bigger than that in the back. I mean, crazy. And
If they didn't tell you it was a minivan, you never would have guessed that was the body they put it on. Yeah.
They put 4-wheel drive on it?
I'm pretty sure they probably did.
It was like a tank. They
It was
had
like
it,
a tank.
yeah, totally
How much?
souped up.
I don't know how much. The value
Over
of what they
$100,000?
Probably put $100,000 into it.
Did
Very easily.
Did you take a picture of it?
I did take a picture of it.
let me see
I'll
that.
give it to Brian the Carpenter. I like a lot of the old cars. You know what I mean? I'm an old car head. We were talking a little bit about it off camera. A lot of old builds, old Camaros, old Dodges. I mean, just beautiful. The Lamborghinis, amazing. The Ferraris, amazing. Just crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Stuff you see on TV.
Plus, you're in Vegas.
And you're in
Yeah,
Vegas.
exactly. Have you ever been to Barrett Jackson?
Have not, but they were displaying there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barrett
big
Jackson
time.
was displaying there. So the cars themselves were amazing. But the second thing that was amazing, and I want to make the difference between SEMA and ICAST, the women. The women. I don't want to get too much into it, but I got to tell you, at ICAST, you walk around and there are very few promotional women involved in the booths, right?
Oh, beer bellies everywhere.
Well, there's a lot of beer bellies, right? There's a lot of dudes. But it's in the fishing industry, you don't see it. At SEMA, every freaking manufacturer had some sort of promo model.
You take the pictures?
Yeah, the pictures of that.
I didn't take any
The
pictures. no.
promo model
All the
budget
pictures are in my mind,
was
Brad.
much larger for SEMA.
It was, they're everywhere, right?
I
Beck?
mean, yes.
Everywhere. I mean, even from very conservative companies like Toyota had promo models, all the way to the rim and tire manufacturers who had promo models. You know what I mean? Amazing to see that difference.
Did you find it distracting?
It was a little distracting at times.
I'm
A little
distracted right now.
Yeah.
What do you think there was more of, cars or silicone?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to put that one at 50-50. Half cars, half silicone. Really cool show. And keep your eye out. You're going to see some stuff we did at SEMA. You're going to see that in the next few weeks up on the social media sites. Another reminder, if you look at what's on top of my head right here, Bri, can we get a zoom in of my head? Is there any way to do that? Do we have a headshot? There it goes right there. For those of you that have been asking the last few months, it's finally available. The brand new IKE logo, the IKE Shark logo hat, available on the website right now, MikeIaconelli.com. It's like $20. It's a great hat. I love it.
We're giving one out tonight, right?
We're giving one out tonight. We
Yeah.
are giving a hat out tonight. Yes.
Based off social media.
Based
promo.
off social media. Yeah, we did an amazing what was it? Based on Twitter?
It was Twitter, yeah.
It was a Twitter what would you call it? Promotion.
Yeah, retweeting.
And we asked you to retweet. And tonight, we've got everybody's information in a old pretzel jar in the back, and we're going to pull one out at random. And we're going to have our very own Brian the Carpenter.
Nah, I'm working.
Dave
Brodzik.
Dave Brodzik's going to reach in that pretzel jar and pull our winner out, Dave, for a hat. It's going to be awesome.
When are we doing that now?
Nah, we're going to do that later. Let's not worry about that right now. One more reminder, too. I want to remind you that the X-Mark Take Back Your Weekend sweepstakes, it's way over. It's done. But the winner of that sweepstakes, and Becky, can I get a name on it? It's Jim. Our winner was Jim. Do we know Jim's last name?
I'm probably going to slaughter it, but it's Boccia.
Boccia. Okay, Jim Boccia. We're going to be fishing with Jim tomorrow on the Delaware River. And this is very interesting. Pete, I'm going to hit you up with some info a little later.
I'll tell you what I know.
Okay, looking forward to fishing with the winner of the Take Back Your Weekend sweepstakes from X-Mark.
When's that dude flying in?
Dude's flying in today. I actually tried calling him today at like 2 o'clock, and he was on the plane. So he's in. Hopefully he's watching the show tonight. If you are, Jim, looking forward to it. We'll have a good time. Get your shaky head hands ready tomorrow. I have a feeling that'll be the deal. Let me remind you, too, that an important part of the show is your feedback, and we want to hear from you. And Ike Live thrives on feedback from the viewers. And lots of ways to get in touch with us here on the show. Of course, right there in front of your face, next to the screen, is our instant messaging board, our IM board. Please hit us up on IM. We want to hear from you. Questions, comments, concerns on what we're doing. Also, hit us up on our social media. It's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Ike Live Show. And then finally, later in the show, probably 9:30, 10 o'clock or so, we're going to put a toll-free number up there for you. And you could call us. You could crank call us. You could breathe heavy. Whatever you want to do, give us a call. Brian the Carpenter, where you at? What would you like to do at this point in time?
Oh, we should go to our guest of honor for this evening.
Okay.
Dave Brodzik.
Dave?
Well, I had an outstanding time on the show so far.
Okay.
But, unfortunately, I have other commitments I got to go tend to.
Oh, okay. We'll see you.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good time. No, I think what we're going to try to do here, it's a great time to transfer to our first guest of the night. We've got him via Skype. Very exciting. I believe he's at the JM Studios joining us. And as soon as Brian gets him up here, we're going to get him live. Pete, you've read the book. We've all read the book. Let me preface this by telling everybody that we were fortunate enough to receive copies of this in advance. So we've had copies. Pete, you've had a copy for a few weeks. Our very own Brian the Carpenter has had a copy for a few weeks, and we got a copy where it's SEMA. So it was great. We, during my breaks, I got to read it, and on the plane back, I got to finish the book. So, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, first of all, Jerry McKinnis has a brand new book out.
Yeah,
it's called Bass Fishing, Brown Dogs, and Curveballs.
Yeah,
and it's a biography, an autobiography. And Jerry's just he's lived a fascinating life. As you pour through the pages of the book, you read things about how he was at the cutting edge of television, how he was a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
At early in his life, fishing trips with Bobby Knight.
Crazy.
And some of the greatest athletes and stars of the world. I mean, he's fished with the greatest people. He's done some really cutting edge stuff with tournament fishing and television, and he's just a monster in the bass fishing world.
Yeah.
With his accomplishment.
Yeah.
And the current owner of BASS, by the way, some of you may not even know that.
It's true.
That he is one of the owners of the Bassmasters group. And in charge of a lot of the elite stuff and the television coverage that's going on there now.
Yeah, I think Brian's got him now. So let me go ahead and introduce him. Joining us live from the Jam Studios. We're going to ask him here in a second. And a huge hero of mine, a guy that really shaped the sport and a big reason why I fish today. Joining us, Mr. Jerry McKinnis, everybody.
Mike, you're embarrassing me there. I'm telling you. But I do. I keep thinking what you said at the first of the show, that if a guest comes on there live, they have the opportunity to fish fight. I got to get in on that. Next time I'll be live.
That'd be good.
I do appreciate the intro there. That's pretty special.
Absolutely. We actually have, this is a real thing. We have blood stains on the carpet in here from the fights we've got into before.
And cheesecake.
We got a lot of cheesecake on the floor. Jerry, this is an honor to have you on. I'm stoked out of my mind. This is probably one of the first times on Ike Live that I've been nervous to interview someone. A little bit. I'm serious. I'm being honest.
Well, that's. I'm just glad. I'm just absolutely a regular old guy, and it's an honor for me to be here. Because heck, you're one of my heroes.
Well, thank you. Wow, that's amazing. I got to start with this. I got to tell you that we're watching you. I don't think you could see us here in the studio, but we're watching you, and your studio is a hell of a lot nicer than our studio.
He's got a fish tank.
Yeah.
I am sitting here in the Bass studio. Sanders and Zona allowed me to come in here and use it for a little bit, so it worked out pretty good.
Wow, it's amazing. Now, the first question, this is an obvious one. I know a lot of the questions we have tonight also came from social media over the last couple days, and a big one for me and a lot of people. When did you decide to write this book, and why did you decide to write this book? When did all this happen?
Well, I think that what really got me going on that was my kids. I have 3 boys and a girl. I have 4 kids, and Steve Bowman. Y'all know Steve Bowman. I'd be around him, and I'd be telling some story, and they'd be saying, "Oh my gosh, Dad or Jerry, you need to start writing that stuff down." And so I guess it was now probably 2 years ago, because it took me a year to write it. So I just struck in writing it, and I am not an author. And I started writing it, and I never stopped. Now by that I mean, of course, if I was off doing something else, I didn't write all the time, but I kept writing. I never went back. When I got ready to start again, I never went back to see where I was at or anything, and it just seemed to fall in place. Okay.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I got to tell you, for me, there were a couple things that stood out, and the one, and it's interesting that you said that, because the one thing as I read the book is, and I know you, so it might be a little different, but it sounded like you talking, like you were actually talking on a mic. Like I could close my eyes and visualize you saying the words. So that was neat. But
hey, Mike, you know what? I've had so many people tell me that. And I have to say, I don't understand. I don't have a clue what you're talking about, really. But everyone said it's like you're in the room or on an airplane with me, just telling me stories and so on. So, but I am glad that that's how you feel.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. And I know Pete alluded to this before you came on, but I want to reiterate it. One of my favorite parts of the book, and it's because. I'm such a fan of the sport still. At 43 and 18 years doing it professionally, I'm still a huge fan of the sport. But I love the history of the book. That's the pieces of the book that hit me the hardest were the history pieces, and the moments with Forrest Wood and Rick Klon and Bill Dance, the little sidebars, like the sidebar about the Rapala floating minnow at the Bull Shoals dock. I mean, that's the stuff that ate. I ate that up because I'm like a kid in a candy store when it comes to that history. Is it amazing to you that those things happened and had such an impact on the sport?
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? The sad thing about it, and I guess this is just the way life is, as all that was happening, I didn't pay attention to it.
Right.
And so much of that stuff, I was more impressed. I was more impressed as I was writing the book, I guess, than I was as it was happening. Hey, I was on a boat dock at Bull Shoals Lake. And Mr. Lawrence came to the dock, and he had a little green box, and he wanted to show 2 or 3 of it how it worked. And I said, well, out here at the gas dock, we got a crappie bed. We could go. I thought we would just go look, and we'd be able to see the crappie bed, and we were, but we could. He actually pointed out that there's some crappie in it, and quite honestly, we thought, at the beginning of it. We didn't, at the beginning of that little deal, we didn't think that this ain't going to work. We'll just play along with him. He seems like a nice guy. And even after he showed it, we were skeptical of it. But of course, there wasn't anything in the book about that like that. But there was a lot of things. Like the story you said about the Rapala.
Yeah,
and we didn't sell them. We rented them.
Wow.
And there wasn't anything close to that. And we rented them because we probably only got 30 or 40 of them.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to sell them and lose them. And another thing was crankbaits in those days. We had like 2 or 3 crankbaits, bombers and hellbenders, and each one of them was probably were in 2 or 3 colors.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that's what we did really good with them too. But they just 1 or 2 colors. They all ran the same depth. And look at what's happening now. So it was. I was really very blessed, and I think. Throughout the book, I tried my darndest to let everybody know that I was in the right place at so many times, and about the time I would be close to making a mistake, I'll be darned. Someone like Forrest or some Dance, someone would pop up. And and sometimes both of us would get pointed in the right direction.
Yeah.
But I was really lucky. I was very, very fortunate.
It's amazing that you're talking about that because that actually brings up the second thing that I really wanted to talk to you about that hit me when I read the book was what you just said, which like things happening at the right time. And in my life and my career, I like to say it like it's meant to be, right? And that's happened so many times in my life. More recently with Pete, with Pete's dad having a heart attack and Pete being there, really strange things where like it's almost like it was meant to be. Do you believe that? Do you believe in that kind of fate?
Mike, and I'm glad that you're recognizing it now, because like I said, back way back in my 20s and 30s, I wasn't paying any attention to that. Now I can look back and see that. I bet in the book that I said that I put the quote out there, everything is happening exactly like it's supposed to. I bet I said that 10 times in there, and that could have been the title of the book for all just as well. And let me tell you one quick story that maybe you read, came across. Oh, and I'll try to make it as quick as I can. But we had a guy in Little Rock who did the sports at the local television station, and he didn't fish, but he always came out and ran his pontoon boat around, and was a really nice guy. And one day I went out on this lake. This is Lake Maumelle, right outside of Little Rock. And one day me and a guy just talked me into going out with him, and I went, and we caught an exceptional string of fish. Well, when I came back in, I took my boat to the gas dock, which I don't normally do. It was just a little V-bottom boat, but I took it over there to gas it up. This guy had put his pontoon boat in just ahead of me. He had quit, ran into the boat dock, and was walking by the gas dock when I pulled this string of fish out and throwed it up on the, and those were the days when we had a stringer,
Yeah.
Threw him up on the dock. If that guy had been 30 seconds later, he wouldn't have seen that. If he'd have been 30 seconds earlier, he wouldn't have seen that, but he saw it, and it just floored him. And he asked me if I would bring those fish. This is 1962, maybe, something like that. He asked me if I'd bring them down to the Channel 7 there in Little Rock and show them and talk about them, and I did, and that's how I got started.
Wow.
And like I say, I was only 30 seconds away from that never happening. So things are happening just like they're supposed to.
What a cool story.
Yeah, that's amazing, Jerry. This is Pete, and it's great to have you here and talk to you. And the book is amazing. So many great stories about things like meeting Forrest Wood and fishing with all these amazing people. You give a great list of the top 5 anglers of all time, which I wasn't included on. But
Pete, you're in my top 5, so it's okay.
I do have. Look, he's Ike's on the front page of the magazine.
Yeah,
right here.
yeah, I like that.
but I love that stuff. And but one, you fished with Bobby Knight and Ted Williams a lot, and 2 giant personalities. What was it like to fish with those guys?
Well, the first time it was pretty awesome, and I was probably pretty nervous, but he made it real easy for me, and he told me that he was just as nervous as I was because he didn't want to mess up and not get to go again with me. As a matter of fact, he always tells the story that John Havlicek called him, and he was telling him that he and I, Coach and I, had this trip arranged, and Havlicek said, "Now don't screw that up." He didn't say screw. He said another word. Don't screw that up, and we'll have something that we can latch on to all the time for some great fishing trips. So Coach was kind of skeptical about it too. But I fished with him a lot. Even today, Coach and I fish an awful lot, and he's great. It was almost a little Twilight Zone-y going with Ted Williams. Although I had a wonderful trip and became very close with him in the latter years of his life, just because I was such a baseball fan, and my father was such a big Ted Williams fan. And I remember sitting down interviewing him in Russia. We were sitting there, and I was doing my best to do a good interview, but I was also wondering, I was thinking, boy, I hope they've shut down heaven for a little bit, because I want Dad to be sitting there watching this. So both of those were really great.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you fished the greatest places in the world. all through the years. The one that keeps popping up is the Boundary Waters, which I know nothing about that place. That's up, I guess, on the Canadian border. Can you talk a little fishing about that spot?
I'd rather not talk to you guys about that at all.
We want GPS coordinates.
The Boundary
GPS
Waters
spots.
is the coolest trip that I've ever been on. I've probably been on it 35 times, I imagine. And it's just, I go with an incredible couple. They're outfitters up there, and the first I went. It wasn't about my second or third time up there was their first time up there. So I've been going through with them through all the years. They're great. There's just so many things about the trip, and the people I take into it go in talking about how good the smallmouth fishing is going to be, and they come out talking about everything but the smallmouth fishing. Although it's well, you guys know what the northern smallmouth fishing is like. Well, the Boundary Waters might be the top of the line for that species.
Well, maybe you could guide the cast of Ike Live up there.
Yeah.
This summer.
I vote for that. I definitely vote for that.
Well, that'd be okay. You got about 10 miles of paddling to get to where we fish. But
Count Pete out because he doesn't exercise at all. He wouldn't be able to make it.
No, that's not true.
That's not true.
Hey, Jerry. Hey, it's Mark Jeffries. It's good to talk to you. I haven't
Mark.
talked to you for a while. Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Hey, last night I had an opportunity to read the book, and I was really intrigued by a lot of things that took place when you were young, and all the time that you spent in Seminole, Oklahoma during your baseball career. And it was really hard for me to imagine that because I'm familiar with Seminole and what it's like today. I can't imagine what it was like when you were playing minor league baseball. But what I want to ask you is, some of the stories and the decisions that you had to make when you were playing baseball, I believe you were getting paid $200 a month. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah.
To make that
$200 a month, and I had one of those funny ages where if I'd have been born a week or two later, then I would have been in a completely new class,
Yeah.
So I was 17 years old when I graduated high school and went away immediately and started playing baseball. And I was playing professional baseball when I was still 17.
Had a 90-mile-an-hour fastball.
Huh?
A 90-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, only out in the west, out where the altitude helped me out a little bit. But I was probably too young. I always look back. If you caught the gist of that part of my life, you can see that it was always a big disappointment for me. I always thought if I'd had the opportunity to hang in there a couple more, and it was my own choice to because I wouldn't take a demotion. Right. I said, I'm going home. I was homesick, and that wasn't the first year, but later on in my career. But I was homesick, and I was in love, and I wanted to get married and everything. And I should have been paying more attention to being a baseball player. Maybe I'd done a little better, but Seminole, Oklahoma was a big part of it, I'm telling you. And at the time, Seminole, I don't remember much about it, just the restaurant, the movie.
There's not much there. There's still not much there.
That's what we did, was play pool, go to the movie, and play baseball.
Yeah, well, what I was wondering is that whole stage of your very young career from a baseball standpoint, did you learn anything from that stage of your life that you're actually applying toward the way that you're running your business since then and really during the past years?
Well, I think so. I really do think so. Even though I played at a higher level, not very much, I still was around it a lot. And even when I quit playing baseball, I was with some guys and have hung out with Whitey Herzog and a few other guys a lot. And I know what a real high level of sport is all about. And I have to tell you that I have thought all along that a lot of the things that I was involved with should be applied to our fishing world, and I think maybe we are really advancing, and the cream is coming to the top, as they say, in so many areas. And I still always think, we're not going to be Major League Baseball ever, but my gosh, we can be the PGA or professional tennis. We ought to be able to get to that level one of these days. And I think being a little part of that has always, it has given me some goals to shoot for. And it definitely, even though I was 17 to 20 years old when I was doing all that, it still made an impact on me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, things that happen shape your life. And let me remind everybody, Jerry McKinnis is joining us, and if you want to be a part of this, hit us up on our instant messaging, our IM board. Also, you can hit us up on our social media at Ike Live Show on Twitter or Facebook. And Jerry, the questions on social media are pouring in. A lot of them are the same. And it's interesting because I think a lot of people have this same big question, and we've talked about it personally a lot over the last year, behind the weigh-in stand and behind the tents. But a lot of people, it's kind of two parts to this question. A lot of people want to know
and incidentally, Mike, I want to throw in that I have really appreciated the conversations you and I have had. I really have.
Oh, me too. Me too. It's great to talk with you one-on-one because you're usually bombarded by like thousands of people. So it's nice to corner you for a change. Everybody wants to know what's the future of the sport? What do you see as the future of bass fishing and professional bass fishing? And then the second part, tons of questions about Bassmaster Live. Obviously everybody's excited about what happened last year, and people want to know about the future of the live portion of Bassmaster programming.
Well, and of course, both those your one question kind of answers the first question a little bit. What the first question was, what do I see in the future of bass fishing? All of us have always talked about how can we get live. We've talked about that for years, and it was when we were involved with the ESPN, they really made a stab at it a few times, and it just didn't work well. Well, here we are, 6 or 8 years down the line from that, and technology has got a lot better and a lot differently. We handle a lot differently than we did even back there when we were with the ESPN. But I think the technology is going to get even better. And even when it does get better, it just opens it up even more. We still, as you know, we're still depending on cell service, and so that knocks us out of a few things during the day. But still, what we do get is there's just something about sitting there watching a guy fish live. It's amazing. Real time
fishing.
Yep. Right. Yep. And I think that's going to get bigger. I'm just going to tell you my opinions here. And as you know, I'm a television guy. But I think, and I've told our gang around here for several years, one day we won't have any television.
Right.
It'll all be live internet.
Yeah.
And right now we're having 2 or 3 hours a day for 3 days, maybe something like that. There'll come a time where it's all live. It's the whole week, from Thursday to Sunday night is going to be live.
Yeah.
And I think that then that's going to start growing the viewership and growing, and when that happens, the sport will grow. And when the sport grows, then sponsors, a little bit more of the non-endemic sponsors are going to be coming in, and we're making headway there as well, and it just all starts changing. But I don't think it's going to be fast, Mike. And I think that, but man, I think we made an impact in 1 year, and so we actually have some plans to lengthen the coverage, and maybe possibly, I hate to say all this because you know how things are. Sometimes they don't work out, but we may even go to sometime on ESPN with some live stuff. So that's all. It's all really pretty exciting, I think.
Wow, that's interesting because I from our standpoint, Pete and I have discussed this show after show after show. The live coverage is for sure a piece of that future of the sport. You know,
and you know what? I don't know whether if any of you guys got to see this or not, but we were at Chesapeake Bay and we were covering Aaron, and we had him. One little stretch, we had about 10 minutes where he caught one pretty good fish. Then he caught a 7-pounder. Then he caught another one about 3 pounds. And he was wall-to-wall Aaron Martins, talking, jabbering. There was someone on the dock, and he was talking to them. And it was, I thought, it was about 10 minutes of the best outdoor television that I had ever seen. And
wow.
And so the more cameras we're going to be able to get out there, and that's coming too, and the more time we're going to be able to utilize, we're going to have more than little 8 and 10 minute stretches, and boy, that's got to grow our sport.
Yeah.
Jerry, it's Mark again. With the advance in the technology and with a number of other organizations going to a digital network type of format where they're actually creating their own network online, not like their own channel on television, but they're providing just an enormous amount of digital video, both live and on demand. Is there any discussion or any conference room talk for Bass to create their own digital network?
Yes. Not necessarily create a whole new network. I guess it could end up going in that direction, but there is talk of really developing the video side of Bassmaster.com much bigger and much a more powerful thing than what we have now. And again, we are slowly inching towards that even now. So and then that, when that gets to a certain point, then no telling where that goes from there. But the answer to your question is yes. We certainly have talked about it.
Jerry, this is Pete. The one criticism that we get for the live coverage of that is from the pros themselves. Like you're exposing their fishing spots very, very early in their tournament, their patterns, and that type of thing. I actually, when I was down there working with you on the Chesapeake, I got criticized for blogging a little bit too many details too early in the tournament. And I imagine some of the pros are probably not liking this very much. I mean, what are your plans for that? How are you going to combat that?
They are until they're one of the guys that get to go on TV and see what it does for their brand to be one of the guys that got covered. And I'm sure that's pretty sweet when you get involved in it. Am I not right, Mike?
Oh, hey, I love it. Can you have a camera on me every tournament next year, please?
Can you stay in the top 5 every tournament?
That's going to be tough. I kind of stink lately, so.
but that other. I don't want to say. I really understand the guys' positions, all that, and I understand their concern and so on, but I also got to say you got to get over that, guys. We're not. This is 1980. We're in a whole new world. We are in a whole new world. You gotta forget about that. That's part of the game. You need to plan your fishing in your spots and how to use them and when you use them and a lot differently than you did 20 years ago, and that's not going to go away. That's we need that. We need that. So everybody, we're not going to change that. I mean, it's going to just be what it is. I think everybody needs to jump in and help us with it, and let's realize what an important part of this sport that is. And I'm saying that, Mike. That's just kind of my opinion. I'd like to kind of hear what you think about it.
Well, this is Pete, and I think it's going to take a little adjustment for us as a group of anglers because we're used to telling lies and keeping secrets, and that's all gone now. But I definitely see the merit of it. I tell you, as an angler, I love it. I love watching it. I'm glued to it. I watch it all day, the entire coverage.
Me too.
It's absolutely fascinating.
Me too.
Yeah, I've even got around it. Maybe I'm not at a tournament and I'm at home, and I got something to do, but I'm just gonna watch that for maybe 10 minutes, and I'm sitting there and I've watched it for 2 hours.
Yeah,
you cannot turn away.
It's very addictive.
Hey, Jerry, it's Mark again. I just want to say that if there's any Elite Series pros out there that do not like this, they have just created probably the best marketing platform that they could have from a digital perspective. The amount of exposure that you can position yourself now as a professional angler, it's enormous. But having said that, it's expensive. And it is a tremendously expensive investment that you and your company are making to give these guys the platform to be able to showcase their performance and the products that they use. Having said that, how has the response been from the companies to get involved with the product? And do you see it as an opportunity to potentially expand into the West by possibly positioning West Coast companies that might want to get involved with the live streaming?
Great question.
Well, boy, that was a long question. No, it is a very expensive proposition, and we went into it this year, pretty much on our own, with not a whole lot of sponsorship because nobody even knew what it was.
Yeah.
And this year, it looks like we got some folks that are going to come in and at least stick their toe in the water here and become a part of it. And so that's going to make it a lot better. But quite honestly, it's not only new to us and to the anglers and the sponsor, it's new to our viewers too. And although they're catching on pretty fast and it was growing, it still needs to get bigger where we can get the right new sponsors involved in it. So it is a really expensive proposition, but I sure see it growing. I sure do.
I do too. Becky, let's go to the IM board real quick. Do we have anybody IMing us with questions for Jerry? Anything unique coming through?
Jerry, I have a lot for you. Some of them are so humorous. I'm going to give you the first. Some of these will just be rapid fire. So, was Ray Scott really a lady slayer?
Wow.
I can't make this up.
That there's a mistake there. Actually, the lady slayer.
I got another fun one for you. Jerry, in your opinion, what do you think of Ike's behavior and language when he was on live?
Wow. Did that really come in?
That came in.
Wow.
Well, me and Ike have had conversations about that before.
It's true.
Let's be honest. It's got to be good for the ratings, Jerry. I mean,
listen, Mike Iaconelli is a major guy for our sport, and I would say this if he wasn't sitting over there listening to all this. He's a major guy, and his personality is just electric at a lot of times. And as we all know, you either love him or you hate him. I happen to love him, and so we're going to put a filter on when he's on live next year. We're going to put a filter over his.
Yeah.
You get a delay, Mike.
I get a delay. I'm the only boat that has a delay.
It's going to look like the old black belt theater shows. Like your mouth's moving, but the words are like.
Yeah, it's everything's delayed.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's amazing. What else? Do we have anything else, Beck? Because I've got something.
Yeah, we've got a ton coming through. Somebody asked, do you see in the future bringing back a warm weather classic?
Wow. Good question.
Boy, there's that that and when are you going out in the West? Those are the two things that I get hit with absolutely more than anything else. And I would say that, well, you know, that's what we're trying to do with Bass Fest, and we've only done that for 2 years, and it's coming along pretty good. But for the people and there are a lot of them that say we make a mistake by having the classic in the spring, the winter and the spring, we need to use the summer. I need to tell you, number one, our sponsors, and of course they're very important. They love it at the time of the year that we have it, because it's the beginning of the season, and it's a great place to showcase their new product. Mm-hmm. I think when you go to the anglers, I guess maybe it's 50-50, but I would guess that more of them like the winter than they do the summer, because a winter event is kind of hard to come by, and so it's nice that we get to fill that void with the classic. But here's the biggest deal: when we did a summer classic, we were averaging 50,000 people, and now we're averaging about 125 to 140.
Wow!
So it's pretty tough to say, hey, we're making a mistake here. We got to move back to where it was before. So that's the biggest deal. It's like I hear a lot from the people that don't like it, but you don't hear anything from all the people that do like it. So I doubt if you'll see a time where we move it, but we are working hard to make Bass Fest that summer event.
Jerry, if you need a part-time employee, I'm really good at bumping frozen boats off trailers and unfreezing hose lines on campers. I got that.
Absolutely.
I got that.
You can kind of freelance at the events.
Yeah.
You go.
All right. I've got more for you. I've got a handful of people that asked. You had mentioned a couple times bringing the Elite Series numbers down to 75. When do you foresee bringing those Elite Series angler numbers down from in the hundreds to the 75 that you mentioned? And then also we have questions about, the entry fees. Do you see that in the near future?
You know what? I feel like I've done a good job at Bass so far, but I have failed at those two things, which were two of the big things that were on top of my list when I got in this seat. I wanted to bring entry fees down, and I did want to cut the field down. I haven't had any luck at either one of them. I don't know. There's such a struggle to get everybody that wants into the elites. It's a struggle to take care of everybody, and this year we've never had to do this yet, but we were close last year to having to make a cut, and a few guys that had fished with us for years and years weren't going to make it. Well, we got through that. We made it. It looks like we're going to have that situation again. I don't know exactly how we can get down to 75. I think that at someday, I hope that we can have our regular 100, 110, and then 75 or 60 or 75 of them at the end of the season go on for 2 or 3 more events, and we try that. And as far as getting the entry fee down, man, it's really tough to do that. And I hate it that guys still are in this fishing for purses. And that's a subject that I could start off on and talk for a long time. I think that our anglers I think if you win a purse or if you win purse money, that should be gravy. The way you make a good a living out of the sport is by marketing yourself and by good sponsors and taking care of that side of your fishing. But still, with that said, there's still a number of guys that are in it for the purse, and so we're trying to keep the purses pretty good. Actually, I don't know what the figure is, but this year there's more purse money. Of course, we have one extra event. There's more purse money than there has, and then probably there ever has been. But it would be difficult to keep that up, even though Bass does manage to contribute a lot to that purse as well. It's hard to do that, keep that level up, and bring the entry fee down.
Yeah, I agree, Jerry. It's Mike again. I agree, and I think one of the things, and I did a series on Bassmaster.com about the future of the sport, and thank you, by the way. Thank you, and thank Bassmaster.com for letting me do that piece, because it was very freeing to be able to talk about some of that stuff. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is the time element involved in change, right? So many people want change to happen immediately and so quick. And, when you look at the history of other professional sports, they're old, baseball and football. Yeah, they're old. They're so old compared to our sport. So, there needs to be some time element there to make these things happen.
Right.
So people have to realize that, and I think that's a big thing. But I want to jump back to what you just said, which is, a lot of this sport is promotions, is sponsorships, and that drives a lot of the business from the organization side and the angler side. And, I'd like to throw this out and how do we elevate our level? How do we elevate the professional level, the ability to make money through sponsors? Because what's happening is, we talk about this all the time, Pete, you have a lot of guys, both entry-level guys, 2-3 year guys, and long-term guys that are working well below their means in the sport, right? So when you have, here's the example. When you have one of the best anglers in the world, the best angler in the world, and I don't even have to say any names, when you have the best angler in the world doing a product deal for a company, that brings the whole professional body down. And it's really hard. It's hard to go to a company and say, I provide this much value on everything I'm doing, when you have the best angler in the world doing it for nothing. How do we combat that, Jerry? How do
one thing I got to say right off the bat is, as far as I know, I don't know if I can do anything or if Bass can do anything about that. That's a deal you guys ought to get, because that's bad stuff.
Yeah.
And you guys ought to try to get together and I think Bass would do whatever we could to help out, but that's got to be a deal that you guys take care of.
Right. I agree. And I talked about that. I think that's a huge progression of the sport, is the anglers need to get together for themselves, so there's some baseline there, right? So that kind of thing doesn't happen. That at some point really has to happen. The other thing I talked about, and again, I'd love to get your opinion on it, is, considering this time element, and it may be 5 years, it may be 10, it may be 20. I don't know what it is. But when you compare our sport to other sports, we're still one of the sports with multi-big leagues. Football had it, baseball had it, and at some point there had to be one premier league.
Absolutely.
Do you see that happening? And
Yep.
Would you ever consider combining or buying or joining or whatever that term is to create one premier league?
Well, Well, again, you've hit on a kind of a interesting subject there, one that we talk about a lot. There is right now our pie is just so big, and we got too many people taking hunks of it, and it ends up hurting the whole sport. And I say that, and it may sound I don't mean to sound selfish there, that we want all the big pie. I don't know if we're the ones or not, but somebody needs to have the big piece of pie. It kind of looks like Bass does right now, but what you're talking about is still a problem. There's parts of the country that don't know what the leading organization is.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that do, and so that one, I said on your last question that that wasn't something I could do anything about. But this one is kind of on my plate a little bit, and I do see someday that being under one roof, and I really hope it's a roof that is smart and kind and has a lot of passion for the sport, because we need that as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, Jerry, it's Mark again. I want to go back to the book because with Ike asking that question, you were very candid about some of the confrontations and some of the situations that you had with Irwin Jacobs and with the FLW organization. Is there any way? Yeah, very funny. I was actually kind of impressed that you actually talked about it in the way that you did talk about it in your book. But do you think that there's any chance now that there could be that summit meeting, or however you want to clarify it, as both groups sitting down at the table and actually discussing, maybe not getting a deal done, but just talking about a potential merger or working things out between the two organizations?
Are you asking me if that could ever happen?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it absolutely could.
Has it been thrown on the table in the past? I mean, has that situation occurred, or is that something that could happen in the future?
We have to change the subject.
Okay, well, it was in the book. Like I said, I'm giving you props for even talking about it in the book. I was thoroughly impressed.
Well, there's certainly a possibility of what you're talking about happening someday, and we just kind of sit back and watch and let's see what happens. And I do want to say something, even though Irwin Jacobs and I have had a few little clashes and all. I would say I respect what he has done. I think he did an awful lot to shake a lot of things up and get us going in some different directions. So I do hope that what your main question there, I do hope that happens one of these days.
Yeah, I do too. And I think, eventually it needs to happen. And again, you just can't put time parameters on it. It could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 20 years. But I
tell you what, I've told all my folks over there at Bass that I'm just going to do this for 20 more years, and then I'm going to.
Hey, we got a great comment here. Lenny said that you should send Donald Trump in to negotiate that.
Wow.
I should do what?
Send Donald Trump in to negotiate.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We also have a ton of people who are asking. We get, of course, a lot of Philly fans here, but they want to know if you ever see an event coming back to the Philadelphia area, and were you shocked by the turnout? I think they're really proud of themselves, but they want to know, were you shocked by their turnout?
Well, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I was shocked. I wouldn't, but it was impressive. It was wonderful. I just think it was of all the Bassmaster events I've ever been to, I thought that was maybe the neatest one ever. Maybe even would rank in with some classics and all. That was so much fun. Oh man, yeah, I see us going back there. Heck, fire, yeah.
Wow, the Philly! I can hear the Philly fans chanting right now.
Jerry.
You hear him? You hear him? You hear him, Pete?
I hear him. I got a question about the Federation Nation. It seems like here in New Jersey, our Federation Nation program is growing, and it's expanding. And I saw some great coverage in Bass Times for the Federation stuff, which is awesome. Where do you see the Federation Nation fitting into Bass?
It just like you said, it is growing. It just keeps getting better and better, and our championship is going on right now as we speak, and. Well, no, it's over now. But I mean, it was going on this weekend. We had a great turnout. It was a fantastic event, and man, I really appreciate all those guys. And I know all of our. I spend so much time with the elite guys and all, and I sometimes feel guilty about that because I'm so appreciative of all the Federation Nation guys and the college guys and the high schools, fishermen as well. And of course, the nation has a lot to do with how the college and high school is growing. So I see it continuing to just get bigger and bigger.
Me too. I mean, this is Mike, and the high school and college programs. It's amazing, and That to me is another one of those key points when we talk about the growth of the sport. That's got to be right there at the top. And,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing because me and Pete, we're old guys now. We talk all the time about, man, could you imagine when we were in high school or college if we had that? And now it's a big business. It's amazing to see it.
Oh, it sure is. Hey, I got another guest that just came in the studio that I want to.
Wow! A surprise guest?
This is a surprise guest.
Well, we like surprises.
Dave Mercer?
This is Ollie.
Wow!
There he is.
Wow!
Ollie is 10 weeks old, and he's 3 going on 4 pounds. Unless I count his tail, he's not even a keeper.
He's cute.
Wow.
But he's my new buddy. I've had this thing with dachshunds for years. Yeah. And I lost my Archie about 2 months ago, and it nearly killed me. And so I had to get another one, and so that's Ollie, and he thought he ought to pay a little visit here.
Wow.
Let me set him down.
I think Ollie might be the cutest guest we've ever had. No offense to all our guests and all you guys that I work with, but Ollie might be the cutest.
He was pretty cute.
Yes, he was.
I got to give you that. Jerry, I can't thank you enough for carving time out for us. This is amazing to have the opportunity to have you on, talk about the new book, talk about the future of the sport. I'm very humbled by it, and you got to promise me something. If I bring my book to the Classic, probably the next time I see you, will you sign it for me?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Please do that. I would love to. I've signed quite a few of them already.
That's awesome, and we're showing the book to everybody right now on the screen, and just to let everybody know, Jerry. How can anybody that's listening, anybody that's going to listen to the podcast a week from now, a month from now, how can they get a hold of this book?
Well, it's pretty easy. Go to jerrysbook.com, and it will have it's got a few sample chapters and all the information, but it's also in the Bassmaster store now, and it's on Amazon, and so there's a number of places you can get it. But really, the easiest to at least get started with is go to jerrysbook.com. I can even remember that.
Wow, that's easy. That's easy. And the other thing I want to mention too before we let you go is you have social media sites, and people can follow you every day. How can they follow you? What are your social media handles where they can follow your daily activities?
What is it?
This seems to be a theme. Zona had to do the same thing.
It's just Jerry McKinnis on Facebook.
Jerry McKinnis on Facebook.
And we have an like most fishermen, we have a lot of fun on it. And please stop by and see me.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for the time, Jerry. We will see you in a couple months at the Classic, if not before then. And thank you for coming on Ike Live. You were amazing. I appreciate it.
Listen, guys, it was really I'm not kidding you. It was an honor to be on with you, Mark. It's good to visit with you a little bit. We haven't talked for months and months and months.
Hey, I'm coaching basketball now. So.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I'm a high school basketball coach now, so doing well.
Are y'all still playing football over there in Oklahoma? Or
Yeah. You know what? We're averaging over 50 points a game the last 5 games. We'll see what happens.
Wow.
Hey, well, again, thanks a lot, guys. It really was a pleasure. A lot of fun.
Thanks a lot, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Have a great night. Jerry McKinnis, everybody. Wow. Man. Definitely ranks up there with one of the best guests we've ever had, one of the, most iconic guests we ever had. And the interesting thing, and I knew Brian's thinking the same thing because I saw it in his eyes through that glass. Mm-hmm. Very interesting that Jerry mentioned you can get his book at jerrysbook.com.
Yep.
Very similar to petesnot.com.
Yep. Exactly
where you can get Pete's Knot. Very similar. Have you guys been talking about the strategy of the websites?
Yeah, there's no telling what you might get at Pete's Knot.
Probably not a book.
It's not a book. It's a lot of dirty stuff in Pete's Knot. You know what I mean?
Well, that was fascinating.
It's fascinating, yeah.
I mean, he spoke candidly about stuff that was really cool. Does that same thing in his book.
Yeah.
Honesty, you know, and you mentioned that too, Mark, how you were impressed by what he talked about. He talked about a lot of the great things that have happened to him and some of the bad stuff, some of the bad decisions he felt he made and some bad stuff that happened, and he didn't seem to edit it. I really appreciated that about the book. Yeah. And I appreciated him talking, and I'm trying to read through the lines. Did I hear him say that they're already having meetings to unify?
He didn't want to go down that path.
I know.
It was that was a tiptoe topic.
But the way that he handled those questions, I'm thinking, is he?
He didn't say negotiations weren't. He said
he didn't.
Talked about
but
in the past.
He did not. He did not say that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm. Yeah. I don't know if I heard it right, but I was thinking that while he was talking, he's avoiding that, saying that he's not having
little tiptoeing going on there. But that's good.
I hope it's happening. Honestly,
I do too.
I really do hope it's happening.
It needs to happen.
Right now, there's about 75 FLW trust fund babies quaking in their boots that they might have to qualify for something.
That's true. But I got to tell you, I think that writing a book like this, writing an autobiography about your life and your experiences is freeing to a certain extent. You know what I mean?
You did it.
Yeah, I did it. And I felt that way. I can tell you when I wrote my book, I was still a fucking disaster from the standpoint of what was going on in my life.
So it was therapy.
It was therapy. It was so freeing. It was like the divorce was very fresh. I was ready to quit the sport, and then I win the Classic, and all this weird stuff was happening, and it felt freeing to me. And I wonder if it did the same to Jerry. We should have asked him that.
I imagine it did because he talked about that stuff.
A bunch.
He went through that stuff himself.
Yeah. It's freeing to tell the story and to let everything out. And it was amazing to hear Jerry talk about the future of the sport and having the same visions as a lot of us, as a lot of the pro anglers.
Well, you know what? It was interesting that you say that. I mean, anglers for 20 years have struggled to make any kind of collective decision to benefit anglers as a group.
It's been very tough.
It's been so hard, and here's the head of the biggest organization in bass fishing saying, guys, that's a problem when one of your guys at the top of the sport is working for product. You guys got to get together. You guys need to organize. You guys need to get together and make some decisions so that does not happen to you.
Yeah. Did that surprise you, Mark?
It did.
Did that surprise you that Jerry said the anglers themselves need to organize? Did that surprise you?
A little bit.
It did.
Yeah, it really did.
But isn't that refreshing? Because the vision's the same. If you're a fan of any sport, Dave, back me up on this. If you're a fan of any sport, for that sport to get to the next level, doesn't that have to happen?
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Think about UFC. Think about what's happening in UFC right now.
Somewhat of a different model. But here's what I'm saying. Organizing bass fishing in the way that private industry or even public sector is organized would be disastrous it would be disastrous. You guys would all have to try to figure out another way to make money. Because once you organize, then all of a sudden, everyone and their stupid ideas and rules come into play, and you would absolutely constrict and crush the people that are paying you.
Right.
In a perfect world, you guys would have set rules on how, based off your tier, how you're going to make money, not working for free. That's all fine. But before you know it, you guys don't, by contract, don't have to back your own boats in. Bass has to provide you with your hotel rooms. Like I've worked for a union. I know where it actually goes to.
Yeah.
And they can cripple and kill an industry.
But it's the process of meeting in the middle, right? And finding some common ground. So we're going to be talking about it at length, I'm sure, next week. But I watched a UFC fight last night. Thank you very much. I know you're proud of me. And Brian filled me in on where the athletes now can't promote sponsors through their apparel or through a banner on the side of the ring. Now it's all Reebok.
Well, during the fight and during any of the post and pre-fight stuff.
That's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
But the problem is, responsible self-governance is what we're going to ask guys to do. And in the history of unions, when they first were needed, it absolutely was there. But now, not so much with all the labor laws. You don't see it. All you see are onerous restrictions put on organizations that are trying to make money and companies that are trying to make money.
Would you consider the professional baseball league, the baseball group, the football group of athletes, are they unions?
They all have a license to print money, those organizations, through TV sponsorships and TV,
but
TV
they're
revenue.
unions.
But it's a different model, Bri. Like, we're talking about organizing something like bass fishing where the money's just not raining down on the guys that own these companies. It's not like it is in the NFL.
Yeah,
where they legitimately have a license.
It's a vicious
to print
cycle.
Money.
Though.
They don't even pay taxes.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle though. It's a vicious cycle because the money's not raining down on us because of what we're letting happen. Not only from the organization, but from ourselves, and that's exactly what we talked about.
Yeah.
How can the absolute best angler in the world, living right now today, do a product deal and have that logo front and center and have his face and have, how can he do that? He's driving the entire business into the gutter. So it's our responsibility not only to govern ourselves, but to take responsibility for what we're bringing to the sport. I got to believe that's true. Well, to get to the next level.
There's definitely a responsibility for the anglers. They're businesses, and it's tough. That's the problem we have. You have to be the best angler in the world, and at the same time, you've got to be a business mogul, right?
Yeah.
And you're competing with other anglers that are fighting for the same exact sponsor dollars and tournament organizations that are fighting for the same exact sponsorship dollars. It's complicated.
Very complicated.
And it's very, very hard. It's hard to do. I mean, so guys, Jerry commented during his interview that guys are fishing for purses because they have to.
Yeah.
And I was impressed that it's hard. He said that he's hard to take care of everybody.
Yep.
But because he's trying. He's trying. I felt that he said he's trying to take care of these guys.
Yeah.
But the guys have to take care of themselves. And I think like your comment about money, it's not raining money. If it was raining money, every one of these anglers would have a business agent.
Yeah.
That would be out there hard negotiating for everybody.
Yeah.
And we're not raining enough money for that to happen yet.
We need to continue this after the break.
Yeah.
Because
Thank you, Mark.
there's a ton to talk about concerning this subject.
This is getting hot and heavy. This is amazing conversation. Anytime we start talking, I start getting like the angry shakes.
Yes.
I know it's good conversation. So listen, thank you for tuning in. We want you to hold on. We're going to take a little break.
Mike, I've got your teaser. You want to play that?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
You have that queued up?
Teaser.
Yeah. How about we roll that?
Okay.
At the end of that, say goodbye. We're gonna take a quick break.
Okay.
Make sure you take the title off.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to run a little teaser. A lot of you that follow me on social media know we've been filming like madmen, and we've got a new show coming in January. We're going to roll the teaser, and we're going to take a little break right after that. Keep with us. Hang in. When we come back, Mark Jeffries talking about the future of the sport and drinking more beers. Go ahead. Roll the clip, Bri. Roll it. Press 1, Bri.